Well, once again, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was terrific. In the end, the Dodgers do hold on to win Game 6 in Toronto. What's that mean? We've got a Game 7 of the World Series coming up Saturday night. Lindsay and I recap Game 6 of the World Series coming up right now on MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, postseason edition.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
And we are off and running and ready to have a whole lot of fun with you on MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, postseason edition. He is Lindsay Crosby, host of the Locked On Braves Postcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow Lindsay on the X at Crosby Baseball. I'm Steve Lenox, host of the Locked On Red Sox Postcast. You can follow me on the X at Lenox on Baseball. We are presented by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins with FanDuel, you're going to receive $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So download the FanDuel app today. Lindsay, let's get right into it. Yes, we've got a Game 7. We're going to discuss that, but before we get into Yoshinobu Yamamoto, let's talk about the bottom half of the ninth inning. Kirk hit by a pitch with 2 outs, a double that could have been a run-scoring triple as a grounds rule double, and then Tyler Glasnow comes in. Clement, Ernie, you're killing me. First pitch swinging pops up, and then a line drive double play. Glasnow throws 3 pitches. Certainly safe to say he's ready and available for Game 7. Just the ending, in a blink of an eye, Dodgers able to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, runners on second and third, no outs, with the tying run being the runoff. It's kind of a big deal. It felt to me, like, honestly, I think the Clement play was worse, right? Because he's been so good this series. We saw the stat earlier in the game. He's now like third all time in like postseason hits in a single postseason or something like that. And the first pitch pop up, it was clear he was expecting a 4-seam fastball, not something that have a little run in on him. And that's why he popped it up. And in his defense, you don't often see those kind of pitches thrown up in the zone like that. Looking at Addison Barger getting doubled off of second base, it felt like that was a hit off the bat. And I understand his thought process of, if it drops, I have to score. But if it doesn't drop, you're the final out of the game. I understand why he did what he did, but it was truly, in that situation, a do or die. I really do think that he needed to be safer. And like he could have gone part way and still been at third had that ball dropped. He just went way too far. And yeah, just bad play. And that's what ultimately killed this rally. And it's just, you hate to see second and third, no outs and no runs come out of it.
Kike Hernandez, got a great jump, closed quickly, and knew exactly where he was going as that play unfolded. Barger's off the bag. He sees it plain as day, goes right to the bag at second base. So all the credit in the world to him. I want to pose this to you because there's probably been some stuff during this postseason, which has been terrific, and it caps off cherry on top of the Sunday with a Game 7 Saturday night. We'll be on board with our last MLB Game Night postseason edition Saturday night. Looking forward to it, but we're in the moment right now. That, to me, there's things during the season that you saw, or during this postseason that you saw, well, the Braves did that. That was the Braves, but that was Braves baseball that I had to endure this season. That was Boston Red Sox baseball since I began the Locked On Red Sox postcast June of 2024. First pitch swinging on a new reliever, unproductive out, and then something like that where there's a double play and the inning is over. Yeah, just stuff. I mean, and what I chalk it up to is present day baseball, the instincts to understand. I hate when they say, well, that run doesn't count. Well, that run could count. When Barger's run does count, that's the tying run. But the run in front of him is more important. That ball falls in, the runner scores from third. At the very worst, you have first and second and 1 out. But again, double play, ball game over. And salt in the wound sometimes for me, you actually recap it, or you go to replay or a review, and he's out, and the game's over.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of the momentum away when they replay the final play of the game, but it was very clear that he was out. StatCast has the Andre Jimenez flare there, the 81-mile-an-hour flare, as an expected batting average of 710, which
Wow.
I think is one of those kind of, you hate to kind of see, Mookie even said I was watching the post game as we were getting ready to start, he thought it was a hit off the bat. I mean, it wasn't just I understand why Addison Barger did what he did, but it's absolutely frustrating. I'm really curious to see, given what they did tonight, given how these teams ran the bullpens, use their pitching, what tomorrow looks like. I know we're going to get there a little bit later. But talking about LA here in this first segment, backing up earlier in the game a little bit, Mookie Betts finally showing a little bit of signs of life, I think was a big deal. He goes 1 for 3, gets 2 RBI and a walk in this one. And he was really kind of the person they needed to step up, and they moved him from second to third and now to fourth. We saw more. They weren't going to take him out of the lineup like they took Andy Pages out of the lineup, but they kept moving him farther and farther down because they just couldn't afford to have him getting outs behind Shohei Ohtani. And today he was able to come through and deliver. And I feel like everything we talked about yesterday in our preview was LA's offense has to be a little bit better. And they weren't that good. 4 hits, 3 runs, but 2 of those hits came with runners in scoring position. And ultimately that's what wins you baseball games.
We'll get into Kevin Gausman in our second segment of MLB Game Night, but Gausman does give up those 3 runs in the third inning, and you touched on it right there. 3 runs, 3 hits, all 3 runs against Gausman with 2 outs. Will Smith RBI double, Mookie Betts, as you touched on, 2-run single to make it 3-0. But they had 4 hits total. And you mentioned Pages, but Teoscar Hernandez at the plate. I mean, they won the game, and they're very fortunate that their season continues Saturday night with Game 7, the way the 9th inning unfolded for them. But this offense still, and you're going to see, and the reason I bring that up right now is because you might come to the plate in Game 7. You may not see a pitcher for a second time in at bat at all, and usually that does benefit the pitching staff. We certainly saw that in the extra inning game, the 18-inning game, a few nights back.
Yeah, Teoscar 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. I will say Dave Roberts made the defensive switch to Pages at just the right time. We saw Pages play a ball really well out there and right. Kind of held Springer to a single there. I thought it was double off the bat. I forgot Springer's a little bit lame still. But you're at the point now with this LA offense. You've made most of the easy moves, right? You took Pages out. You can move Teoscar down a little bit, but you don't have other starting outfield options that are nearly as potent as Teoscar Hernandez is. And as much as he'll hurt you with the glove, he can help you with the bat. He just has to find it tomorrow, because literally it's the last game that he will play this season. Tommy Edman being in center field, I was a bit surprised by that, simply because they have not used him out there since he came back from the injury. I really didn't think they would go that far, but they just said we have to get Pages out of there. I thought he played center field defense just fine. I don't think he was anything special, but he was good enough. Question's going to be, he goes 1 for 4 with the run scored. Can Teoscar hit? Does his defense cost them before they make a switch tomorrow? I'm really kind of curious to see how this rolls out.
Close out the Dodgers segment. Dodgers again win 3-1 in game number 6, force a decisive Game 7. Our first since the Nationals over the Astros 2018, 2019, 2019?
19, I think.
Yeah, so again, cherry on top of the Sunday. But Yamamoto, complete game effort, wins over Gausman in Game 2, 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 starts in the World Series, no walks, 6 strikeouts in Game 6, 14 strikeouts total. Say it's a 3-1 ball game in the finale, and it's maybe there's 1 home run, because likely Game 7 hero, the November hero, is going to be the World Series MVP. But I think you certainly can make a case for Yamamoto with his 2 victories, and certainly the victory that he had in Game 6, forcing a Game 7. He could be your World Series MVP with the 2 wins.
Yeah, I think right now the only person that could beat him for MVP on LA's roster would probably be Ohtani. And it's going to be based on him doing both pitching and offense tomorrow. Dave Roberts hasn't officially picked a starter. We're going to get to that in the third segment, but it's clearly going to be Ohtani for roster reasons, lineup reasons. We'll get to that later. But I do think Yamamoto has a very strong case. I know that FanDuel, the last update they had on the World Series MVP odds, Ohtani was first, Vlad Guerrero was second, and Yamamoto had gone up to third at the time of this game ending. So I do think they agree with you that unless, like, you know, if Ohtani has a good, not even an amazing game, a good game tomorrow, it's probably him. But if not, I could see Yamamoto being the other winner from LA simply for 2 giant wins, including the way he did it in game 2 and then being solid today in game 6.
On the Blue Jays side, I want to get into Bo Bichette and George Springer because they're in the lineup. They're inspirational, and Springer had a couple of knocks and an RBI for the Blue Jays. But are they hurting them in the lineup overall? Want to get into that with Lindsay next as we continue MLB Game Night Postseason Edition.
Major League Baseball has 1 or 2 games left, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Because listen, the Dodgers are favored to win on Friday. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, -1.5 over Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays. But because they're up 3-2 and they're heading home, the Toronto Blue Jays are the favorite to actually win the World Series at -240 to LA's +194. Even when it's not your teams, it's a fantastic series, and FanDuel keeps every moment exciting. So right now, FanDuel's offering new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Alongside Lindsay, Crosby, Steve Lenox, MLB Game Night Postseason Edition. Glad you're with us as we discuss Game 6, segment number 3. We'll be looking ahead to Game 7, where everything is on the table for John Snyder and Dave Roberts and the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. Game 6 ends. Tyler Glasnow throws 3 pitches and gets 3 outs, including the line drive double play where they were able to double off Addison Barger. I want to talk about the third inning. Dodgers get the 3 runs, Lindsay, and the Blue Jays do answer. Turns out to be their only run of the game. Barger a double, George Springer, and it was the at-bat for Springer. The pitch was up in the zone. Yamamoto's location may not have been as crisp in his complete game in his previous 2 starts going the distance in both of those outings, but Springer has the RBI single. And the Blue Jays get their run with a 2-out RBI knock by Springer. He had another base hit later in the game. That was a single, but they've got 2 guys in their lineup right now that are station to station. And they're not going to, I mean, Bichette, we saw that from the moment he got on base in his first at-bat when he debuted in the postseason here in the World Series. Does John Snyder perhaps take one of them out of the starting lineup for Game 7 and be strategic with having them come off the bench in a big spot?
I feel like Springer is not hurting you as much as Bichette potentially because 1, Bichette's having to play the field, and 2, he's really not hitting for any kind of power. And I do think that's kind of the big deal here. I mean, the hardest hit ball of this entire game was from George Springer. So clearly he has an intercostal strain. It's not bothering him that bad. He had a 109.8 mile an hour single off of Yamamoto in this game. I think Bichette's the one. And we saw a little bit of this early. I think it was game 1 he played, game 2 he sat out. This may be something where, or maybe it was 3 and 4. But Bichette's probably the one where I think because of the need to have the defense at second base, you probably save Bichette for a pinch hitting opportunity later versus having him play the entire game on a back-to-back, given just how he's not moving as well. Springer, honestly, other than the fact that he's just a little bit slower than usual, Springer looks like he's fine. Bichette's
it was painful to watch him in his first at bat on a couple of those check swings.
True, but
Bichette in his 8th inning at bat, he popped out to the shortstop. Betts made a nice catch down the left field side, and I don't have every swing to memory right now, but he took a big cut where I'm like, okay, it was one of the first times where I really saw him, sort of let it loose. But his base hits, just a professional hitter with his hits earlier in the series. But I thought, okay, maybe he's got a little, maybe he can take one swing like that. I mean, he was swinging for the downs, but he just couldn't catch up. But that's really the first time where I saw like, okay, he's really trying to knock one out of the park here.
Yeah. He feels like the one that I would consider starting off on the bench and using him in a situation later. I still think Springer needs to be in there the whole game, especially if he's just DHing.
Right. Yeah. And it'd be hard to take them both out of the game, sixth inning on along those lines. But I mean, baseball, we know what it is. I mean, they're going to come up. If they're both in the starting lineup, they're going to come up in crucial situations. And tomorrow night, crucial situation to me, probably begins in the sixth inning. Might be even earlier. Who knows? But we do know it's likely Shohei Ohtani on the mound to start. He's going to go a couple of innings, opener, whatever you want to call him. On the other side, it is going to be Max Scherzer. Feel good.
We all knew it was. We all knew it was. Max Scherzer was going to insist. You have to have a very short leash, right? Max Scherzer, to quote the country song, he's not as good as he once was, but he can be as good once as he ever was. Like, we saw him step up at times this postseason and look more like vintage Max Scherzer. You really have to be careful and not push him too far or let him get overexposed to LA in this one. But it makes sense. Start him off, see what he can give you, and go from there, because just about everybody should be available. If we can go back real quick, the third inning, that Mookie Betts 2 RBI single, what I hate about this at-bat is Kevin Gausman's in complete control of the at-bat, right? He missed pretty poorly with a slider to start the at-bat. But after that, strike low in the zone on a splitter. Betts swings through a fastball. He throws a fastball above the zone that gets fouled off. And then Gausman goes right back to an in-the-zone fastball that Mookie hits. That's the situation where Kevin Gausman being so fastball splitter all the time really hurt him. That situation was screaming for like a slider down and away, or just not giving Mookie Betts a third pitch in the zone, including a second pitch in that exact spot. And I think that's going to end up being the most frustrating at-bat of the game for me, because that was like Kevin Gausman didn't have to do that. I know he didn't intend to throw it right there, but the call was still elevated fastball. And as frustrated as some of the offensive at-bats were, that's a pitching at-bat that really just drives me nuts, because I feel like you didn't need to do it. Like, you didn't need to give him something hittable there, given the fact that Mookie Betts hadn't done anything all series.
Yeah.
And you gave him an incredibly easy up and in fastball to hit, and you paid for it ultimately with what ended up being the winning runs.
Yeah, and John Smoltz has done a good job in this World Series explaining Savage and Gausman, both for them, of, elevating that fastball. And to your point of, that wasn't elevated enough, and that was a pitch he was able to jump on.
Yeah, and like the one before it was well above the zone, and Mookie chased it out of the zone and just barely fouled it back. This was something Gausman threw 93 pitches. He only threw 13 sliders, and I know that they only swung at 4 of them. He got 1 whiff on 4 swings because he just wasn't in the zone with it a lot. But it just felt like that was a situation where there was no need to come. You're ahead in the count. You only had 1 ball on you. There's no need to come back into the zone with yet the third straight fastball of the at-bat. Throw him either another splitter down or throw him a slider down and away. And they just didn't do it. And I stewed on that for like an inning. I'm like, I got to make sure I mentioned it tonight, because I was so mad that he did that.
Blue Jays bullpen, and there's a guy, Varlin, inning in the third, got the job done, 1 strikeout. Flew Hardy gives up the double to Ohtani. Dominguez gets the final out. Chris Bassett, starting pitcher. And I thought he would be a guy more than 1 inning, but John Snyder has used him as sort of a 1-inning guy, kept it a 3-1 game. That's what the bullpen had to do as they entered down 2 runs. And, Bassett has done a solid job in the bullpen, and I could see him, we could see every single reliever having positive or negative impact in Game 7.
Part of me kind of feels like Bassett was the move in the 9th, because if Toronto could have tied it up but not taken the lead, you could have let him go a little bit longer,
right,
and save some guys. Whereas LA, I mean, their decision going into the 8th was we're going to give Sasaki 2 innings. And obviously that didn't last with contact with the enemy. But Bassett's been really impressive out of the pen. I feel like having all 3 fastballs and confidence in all 3 of those, and then having both a horizontal moving pitch and a sweeper and a downward breaking pitch and a curveball, it's a really not traditional package for a reliever to have. Obviously, he's a starter. I feel like he's done really well, but I do think the reason they did that was in case they were able to tie it up, and it looked like they could have. They had runners on second and third and no outs. If they could tie it up, but not get the win, you could have just left Bassett out there for another inning or 2, or maybe even 3, depending.
So we're inside of 24 hours of game number 7. Clement popping up on the first pitch that he saw from Glasnow, and then the line drive double play where Barger was caught off second. We're going to see that over under. I'll put it 20. We're going to see that plenty inside of 24 hours of game 7. We're going to talk game 7. Yamamoto, terrific, 2 victories in the World Series. Shohei is going to be in there. We're going to talk. I thought Joe Davis and Lindsay's going to explain it because I still need a little definition of, Shohei starting compared to being a reliever. Because if he was a reliever, Lindsay's going to tell us what would happen with the scenarios for game 7. It is MLB game night. Every game, every night, postseason edition.
This episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. Listen, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. Because if you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The new Stacks feature is honestly a game changer. You can pick more on a single player's, on every option for that player. Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot will save your lineup from a loss. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
All right, Lindsay, segment number 3. We wrap up here, MLB game night. Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani. If he's a reliever and he comes from his DH spot to enter the game as a reliever in game 7, he's got to go to a position. The new pitcher goes to the position in the batting lineup that Ohtani takes over the position for. So if he went to right field and it's Teoscar Hernandez in right field, that pitcher, that reliever would come into that spot. Joe Davis explained it right. Did I explain that right there? And with all of that, it makes sense just to let him be the opener, be the starter for game 7.
Yes. So the Ohtani rule says that a starting pitcher who is the designated hitter as well can remain in the game as the DH after being removed from the mound. But it is clear that it's the starting pitcher. So if he were to come in as a reliever, to your point, if you wanted to take him, like let him pitch an inning and then take him out of the off the mound, he has to go take over a position. He has to play right field, which he did a little bit in LA. With the Angels before the Ohtani rule was put into place. So like Shohei Ohtani's technically anybody who's a two-way player can use this, but it is the Ohtani rule because Shohei Ohtani is the only player who qualifies under the two-way player designation for this. So it's kind of, he was going to start. He was always going to start. The thing that I wonder about, and I haven't gotten clarity here from a lot of places, if Ohtani comes out of the game as a starting pitcher, but stays in as DH, can he come back as a reliever? I don't think he can without going to a defensive position, but I honestly don't know. And I'm just really intrigued to think about, could he pitch a couple innings, go play some right field, and then come back and pitch the ninth? I don't know.
I think that would be, I think he'd be able to do that. I don't think they've changed that over the years. So I've seen teams implement that where they put a pitcher out, and I got to go all the way back to '86 and Davey Johnson with the Mets. against the Reds, but that was a long time ago. But yeah, that's an interesting scenario. What intrigues me here with Ohtani, he pitched Tuesday. I think
no.
right.
2019, Vince Velasquez did it for the Phillies in 2019. He
Okay.
was on the mound. He went to left field. He made a diving catch and an outfield assist at home plate, and then
came back.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. Ohtani, 90-plus pitches Tuesday. So he's got a couple of days since he's thrown. But Shane Bieber the same way. Again, everybody's available. Both these guys coming off Tommy John surgeries, but it's just everything that's on the line being available out of the bullpen. I don't think we're going to see the number of relievers on the box score that we saw from the 18-inning game on Monday. But we might see a reliever an inning again from whenever Scherzer and likely Ohtani depart from the game.
Yeah, Tyler Glasnow threw 3 pitches. He did say after the game he is available for Game 7. Obviously, Kershaw's on the bench. It feels like Emmett Sheehan did warm up.
Right.
He started to throw when Sasaki got into trouble, and then they ended up not using him. But you have to imagine everybody's available. You're not saving anybody for another game here. The big thing to me is going to be, and you touched on it, Shohei Ohtani had a full-length start, earlier this week. How long does Dave Roberts let him go? Because he's an extra pitcher. He does not count towards your number of pitchers, or maybe he's not counted on one of the two sides, the position players or pitchers. But how long do you let him go? How long do you let Scherzer go? I feel more confident in Toronto's bullpen, but I also feel like a lot of the starters that LA has been using in relief are, for the most part, they're all available. They're all ready to go. And I ultimately, end of the day here, I know we're not quite at the predictions yet. End of the day, I just kind of feel like this game's going to come down to which reliever stumbles first. Like it's going to be like a 3-2 game or a 2-1 game, and somebody's going to get into trouble. Somebody's going to make a mistake pitch. It's going to get crushed, and that's the team that's going to win the World Series.
Sasaki, I didn't have a lot of confidence in him trying to get 6 outs, and he didn't. He got the 3 outs in the 8th inning. Late in the game tomorrow, Dave Roberts going to go with Glasnow to get the final 3 outs, or is Sasaki in a 1-run game, bottom of the 9th inning? Is he going to take the baseball?
So Roki threw 33 pitches tonight,
right?
And he really didn't feel like he had a good feel for where a lot of them were going. And so, he got like 13 swings on those. I think he only got 3 whiffs. A lot of balls put into play or fouled off and things like that.
Hit Kirk with 2 strikes.
He hit Kirk with 2 strikes. I feel like you're going to go with, if it's me, I'm going with Glasnow, especially because 1, he looked better. And 2, it kind of feels like it's a tradition now that a starter has to be the guy to get the final series and win the thing. We saw Walker Buehler do it last year. You can go back. We saw Chris Sale with your Red Sox do it.
Yep.
So it feels like that's where we're heading, is that Glasnow's going to be the guy. Sasaki's probably a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing, simply because he hasn't done a ton of back-to-backs. He's not been a full-time reliever for very long. And he threw 33 pitches and didn't look that great while doing it.
Who's your Mr. November?
Ooh, my Mr. November, Ernie Clement. I think he's going to redeem himself for that pop out, that unproductive out tonight. I think he's going to get you a big hit because you're going to be so worried about Vlad, and you're going to be so worried about Springer and the top of that order, Clement down there at the bottom. He's going to get a big hit for you.
It's the first time in the World Series. I mean, this is Game 7. But it's the first time where all of a sudden, as we did the preview show for Games 6 and 7 on Thursday night, you sort of, started veering towards the Blue Jays. I don't want to move off the Blue Jays, but I'm not going to bed feeling very excited. And to me, if the Blue Jays are going to win, Vlad's got to come to the plate multiple times with runners on base. But I segue that to say, Mookie Betts, if he's in that number 4 spot again, to your point, as you said, that reliever who comes in and all of a sudden it's a 1-run game, and now it's a 2 or 3-run game, and that team's able to add on, I feel like Mookie Betts is going to do something again in Game 7 like he did in Game 6 to add to a lead and just have a big at bat. Batting in that number 4 spot, he's got the potential of having Ohtani, Smith, and Freddie Freeman. Come on, Freddie, get going here to do something positive.
I think part of it for me is just Toronto's looked like the better team in 4 of these 6 games.
Yep.
And the only games where they've not looked like the better team are the Yamamoto games. And Dave Roberts said every pitcher's available tomorrow except for Yamamoto. He's not walking through that bullpen gate. And so it's when he's not been a factor, Toronto's looked better in every single game. And it's just hard for me to think that LA's going to fix it. But to your point on Mookie Betts, like these guys are superstars for a reason. So if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be your Mookie Betts, your Freddie Freeman, your Shohei Ohtani. First
game of the series, winning team doesn't score 5 or more runs.
I think tomorrow's similar to that. I don't think we'll have 5 runs on the other side. I think it's a close game. Again, somebody makes a mistake late, and that's what decides it. And we have a 3-2 or 2-1 World Series victory.
And all season long, we've been telling you MLB game night, every game, every night. And we've got one more, Lindsay.
One more night.
This just caps off what to me has been a terrific postseason. And I know I've said that multiple times, but tomorrow night just caps it off for us.
We've had some sweeps. We've had a bunch of series go in the distance. And we've had like teams looking good, teams looking bad. We've had juggernauts stumble like LA did the bit in this series. And I don't know what Game 7 has in store, but it feels like there's almost no way it can let us down based on what we've seen so far in this series and in this postseason.
I'm going to bed. Picture in my head of Jeff Hoffman securing the final out in the top of the 9th inning somehow, some way, and the Blue Jays celebrating a 3rd championship in franchise history. You're thinking the Dodgers are going to go back-to-back.
I picked the Dodgers when the postseason started. I picked the Dodgers before the season started, but I picked the Dodgers when the postseason started. My heart may right now be with the Blue Jays, or my head may be with the Blue Jays, but I picked the Dodgers at the very beginning. I can't bail on them now, even though I think Toronto's going to win.
We're going to be with you after Game 7 of the World Series Saturday night from Rogers Center in Toronto. MLB game night, every game, every night. We have done that since late March, and we're going to continue it right on through Game 7 of the World Series. I think we're all in for a special treat with Game 7. For Lindsay Crosby, I'm Steve Lenox. As always, we do thank you and tip our cap to you as well for being a part of MLB game night, every game, every night. This has been our postseason edition.